Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm TV or Ryan, whichever you prefer. I really enjoyed making this video today. You know, the entire goal here is to take Angela to the next level, specifically in ranked play. So Angela's like a hyper-technical hero. She's 4 stars for a reason. And this video will operate under the assumption that you are familiar with her kit, with her rotations. If you aren't, I just posted a full advanced guide to Angela, from the ground up, including damage numbers, cooldowns, cooldown management, target prioritization, so much more. So if you haven't seen that video yet, I'd encourage you to start there. But this video here is going to be, about specific advanced tactics that you can leverage when the stakes are high, right? All of the gameplay today will be in the competitive playlist. So let's dive in. There's a lot to cover. Tip number 1, I really want to start with the melee weave. Okay, I had a lot of people commenting on my original guide that it is imperative that you initiate combat with a standard melee followed by a primary attack with Angela's spear. And you'll see a crap ton of melee weaving in the gameplay in the background today, where I do exactly that. But I also want to clear up the myth that this is always mandatory and that there aren't any downsides to doing this, because there definitely are downsides. So I'm now over 30 hours into playing Angela. I soared past Lord like 10 gameplay hours ago, and I've experimented with the melee weaving a ton. So I've got a lot of insight to share here. I've been using the melee weaving a lot more now that I have a lot more experience with Angela, but I'm also fully aware that there are just some heroes and instances where it is objectively a bad choice to start with the standard melee. Let me show you. So first, you have to understand a couple of important things. 1, the standard melee has a lot less reach than the primary spear attack, okay? So I'm talking like 3.5 meters less reach here. It's kind of a big deal. So first and foremost, that means you have to get physically closer to the target before you can hit them in order to land that standard melee before your primary attack. Second, notice here what the standard melee attack does to my flight. It completely stops it. So this attack kills your forward momentum. So the second you throw it out there, you lose that mobility and that speed that's so crucial for Angela's survivability. And third, there's the simple truth that with those 2 previous discoveries that we just listed, that means it simply takes more time to skewer an enemy with your assassin's charge, which is the whole purpose of your dive, right? The goal is to carry them away, to immobilize them, and then finish them off in a location of your choosing where their healers and teammates cannot help them. Why does that matter? Well, let me show you. When you open with the standard melee, taking that extra fraction of a second to get physically closer, and then adding another half second before you can impact the enemy with your assassin's charge, because you're literally adding an extra input into your combo, what happens is you create a window that is easily long enough for the enemy to react with an evasive ability. Here, I catch this Moon Knight completely unaware. I get just close enough to land the normal melee, then I hit him with the follow-up spear attack, and then I go into my assassin's charge. But he actually hits his grapple just in time to completely avoid my tackle. Now, this would have been a kill. No doubt in my mind. I would have carried him into this building, shoved him up into a corner where he cannot grapple anywhere. He's stuck in the room with me. This would have been a kill. But because I initiated with that standard melee, the melee weaving that people told me that has no downsides, I was not able to get this kill because he was able to get away from my dive before I could do the assassin's charge. And I expressed this in the comments of my full Angela advanced guide, and people swore I was crazy. But this happens. It does happen. It happens with a lot of heroes, especially in comp, because these are not people playing casually. These are people trying to win. They're trying to counter you, and they're usually playing on a hero that they are very familiar with, and they've got these reactions baked into their DNA now. So all this to say, yes, I do use the melee weaving a lot now, especially when I'm in like an isolated fight against an enemy and I don't have my other stuff cooled down. Melee spear, melee spear, melee spear. It's just a great way to slip in some extra damage, and it's very important to learn how to do this. But it is far from being mandatory when initiating a fight, especially when your goal is to carry someone away or to carry them off the map. If your goal is to carry them off the map, do not lead with that attack because you're giving them more time to get away. So in those scenarios, The safer and more consistent play is to simply lead with the fully charged spear attack that knocks them up, and then go straight into your assassin's charge, especially if the enemy has a mobility option of any kind or a knockback ability, so bear that in mind. Now the second major thing I want to talk about is Angela's incredibly useful tendency to bait out and burn enemy ability cooldowns. So Angela has, in my opinion, the best mobility of any character in the game, right? Better than Spider-Man, who has cooldowns on his web zips. I'm a Lord Spidey, so I know a lot about his movement and his movement tech. And he is hyper mobile, but he's got cooldowns on his web zips. He's got awkward downtimes in between swings where he sort of hangs in the air. Angela's got better mobility than Ultron's slow flight, better than Iron Man's incredibly loud flight that works on an energy meter. So Angela is unmatched in terms of freedom of movement. Now because of that, she is all over the dang arena. I think these clips here on the new map are great examples of this. I'm in my own backline peeling, and then I'm in the enemy backline hitting their healers, and then I'm on the point brawling, and it's all seamless, right? Now because of this, Angela is very, very good at baiting out key abilities from the enemy heroes. So I'm talking like Namor's bubble, I'm talking Loki's runes, Cloak and Dagger's dark teleportation, Magneto's bubble shields, and so much more. But as you fly around the fight, tossing out huge 105 damage fully charged spear attacks at everything you pass, these heroes on the other team, they will instinctively assume you're committing to a fight, and they will burn through their defensive abilities. What's great about that is that you sent those abilities on cooldown, so now your team has a massive advantage. So let me show you. In this clip here, this is just a 30-second clip, right? 30 seconds in the match where we needed to push this checkpoint and time was running out. In those 30 seconds, I managed to force first, in order here, watch it in the gameplay, I force Invisible Woman to use her double jump to go invisible. That's her defensive evasive maneuver. I then force Punisher to use his smoke grenade. I then force Cloak and Dagger to use her dark teleportation immunity, and then I force Magneto's duplicate Emma team-up ability. Now with all those defensive abilities sent to cooldown, what happens is my team is able to basically wipe the entire team. And even though I only technically in that 30-second sequence got one final hit, I still played an active role in basically every elimination that my team picked up. So if you watch the screen, I got one final hit, but I got 4 assists during that time. Crazy. That's one of Angela's biggest advantages on the field. It's her ability to be more or less omnipresent and force enemies to burn their defensive abilities and send them to cooldown, creating massive opportunities for your teammates to pick up some kills without worrying about the enemy getting away for free. Okay, let's move on to the third tip I want to mention today. This is a short one, but a very important one. So you will miss your assassin's charge tackles from time to time, right? You can try and skewer somebody and you're going to miss. It's just going to happen. You're not going to land all of them. But when you do miss, this is important, you need to get into the habit of canceling the charge the second you realize you didn't connect with it. The assassin's charge energy bar refills very slowly. So in order to make sure you're ready to throw another one out, you need to cancel your charge as soon as you possibly can if you miss the attack. So you'll see me canceling mine a lot in the background gameplay. I made sure to include times where I did not hit the charge because I wanted you to see this is just, it's an organic thing. This happens and you need to be able to cancel it. Like here on the new map, right? I missed my tackle. I immediately turn the charge off to save energy, and then I'm ready to try again a few very short seconds later. So don't waste that energy bar. That is a precious resource. It will deplete very quickly. So the sooner you cancel that charge when you miss the tackle, the better. All right, the fourth advanced technique I want to talk about is ultimate mitigation. Okay, Angela is so freaking versatile in this department. She has 3 different ways to completely offset enemy ultimates and negate them. Okay, way number 1 is the most well-known way. It's simply to use your assassin's charge to shove an enemy off the map during their ultimate or disrupt their ultimate. So not all, but many ultimates can be displaced. If that's the case, like with this Mantis who's desperately trying to stall the point with her ultimate so her team can get back to it in overtime, you can just pick them up and carry them off the map to shut it down. But then other alts like Scarlet Witch or Iron Man, they can actually be disrupted entirely by an assassin's charge like this here. So keep an eye out for ults that you can displace or disrupt with your Assassin's Charge. Now the second way that she can mitigate enemy ultimates is to use her shield to completely block them. I do this to Hela's specifically all the time. I can't tank her entire ultimate, but I can fly right up into her face and shove that shield right into her. And I can tank, depending on how much energy my shield has at the time, I can tank 2 to 3 shots of her ultimate before the shield breaks. And that gives my team enough time to either get to safety or to shoot her down out of the sky safely without being shot by her ult. Or take this play for instance. I carry this Magneto into my team so we can cook him, but then he decides this is an opportunity, so he decides to activate his ultimate to try to capitalize on the moment. So I immediately shoot back up into the sky, I whip out my shield just in time, and I eat his entire ultimate and completely negate the whole thing. And this is a big deal because this is an ult they tend to use to shut down support ults. And now that's off the table. That's a tool they don't have anymore. It does break my shield, but I take 0 damage and my team remains safe below me. So make sure you leverage your shield. It is super versatile and useful. And the third and final way that you can mitigate enemy ultimates is by using your own ultimate to lock them in place. Some enemy ults are roaming ultimates where they can walk around the arena in their ult dealing massive damage to your team. So take this Dark Child for instance. So Magic pops her ult in our back line and I know she's going to cook our healers. So I actually burn my ult charge on her just to lock her in place and keep her from chasing down my healers. And while she's immobilized, she's super vulnerable. So I dive on it and then I delete her before she can do anything useful. So remember, as Angela, you have several different ways that you can offset enemy ultimates. Ult mitigation is one of your best assets and how you bring more value to the team. The fifth thing I want to talk about today is Angela's high stagger potential. So these matches have predictable ebbs and flows to them. Usually when your team drops 3 or 4 enemies on the enemy team, the remaining few will retreat and regroup with their teammates as they respawn. But one thing Angela does very, very, very well is pursuit. So read the room. If it's obvious that your team won the fight and now the enemy is retreating so they can regroup, you may look for an opportunity to catch up to an isolated target and pounce on them before they can group up with their teammates. So this creates a longer lasting stagger effect where now enemies returning to the fight will already be at a numerical disadvantage. In this clip, for instance, I chased down the enemy Penny Parker after a big team brawl where we came out on top. She's trying to retreat. I shove her into a corner so we can drop her before she gets back to the safety of her team. So she's now staggered and we can take a lot more space essentially for free. So always be on the lookout for chances to chase down a straggler and prolong the stagger effect to maintain your team's forward momentum in the match. All right, the sixth thing we got to talk about is the ban phase. So who should you be banning before the match even starts? Now obviously this only applies to those of you in gold and up, but ideally I recommend 2 key bans. The first is the Thing. Okay, he's a pretty hard counter to Angela. He can't be carried, he can't be displaced, and on top of that he has 2 ways to force you out of the sky. He's got his Haymaker punch. It's got no cooldown, he can spam it. It's got over 10 meters of reach. He can knock you out of the sky and keep you on the ground with follow-up punches after that. And you have to sort of time your shield to block those. But he also has the Yancey Street Charge, which leaves like a large AoE on the ground that keeps you grounded as well. Not to mention he can lunge up into the sky just by looking at you and pressing F. And he can wind up that Haymaker on his way up to you after he initiates that leap. So go ahead and ban the Thing to maximize your effectiveness out of the gate. The second ban I recommend is actually Bucky. So Bucky has 2 charges of Tainted Voltage, which knocks you out of the sky, and it hits you with a slow debuff as well. So removing your mobility is a death sentence for Angela. So that'll absolutely kill all your momentum. It'll force you into a vulnerable position on the ground. And he can then hook you as well to keep you locked down for even longer. So it's not a good time. So a good Bucky can be a real problem. So those 2 bans are the ones I recommend for most Angela mains. Now the 7th thing I want to cover today, when you're trying to get an environmental kill by flying someone off the map and into a hole, make sure you turn down into the hole. You don't want to go straight. You don't want to fly them up over the hole. Many characters have short-range dashes or lunges or have slow fall and can actually glide back to safety. But if you turn them down and fly down a little ways into the hole, you can offset that and get more kills that way. That's how I managed to kill this Thor, who has a short-range dash to fly back up, but I carried him too far down to recover. And I also do it to Invisible Woman, who is unable to double jump back out to safety since I took her down too far. So just be careful that you don't fly too far down and instantly kill yourself along with them. That does happen from time to time if you're not careful enough. So you got to sort of like dial in that distance. But yeah, carry them down to the hole for more environmental kills. All right, those are the 7 main tips I wanted to unpack today in this video to help you really maximize your potential with Angela and understand her on a deeper level. I hope you found those tips helpful. If you did, let me know by leaving a like on the video, because that's the best free way to support the content right here on YouTube, and consider subscribing for even more content. But speaking of content, I wanted to pitch an idea to you guys. I'd like to fill in the gaps between my guides with some more fun and creative content that I can upload while I'm working on those bigger projects. I was toying with the idea of syncing up the YouTube memberships here on my channel with my Discord and basically having a private group for channel members to hang out, LFG groups, share your clips, form comp groups, even play some with me while I'm working on gathering footage or testing out damage numbers and combos, stuff like that. And then I can have a chat room where members can upload their best clips to Discord, and I can rate other people's clips. I can upload that onto the channel here where I'll just like go through that week's list of clips and kind of provide some color commentary, and we can see how everybody's doing and kind of have a good time with it. I could even do like full match breakdowns where I can review someone's match. You can provide a link to your to a match that you think was pretty good. We can provide some commentary, some post commentary, what they did well, what they could do to improve, stuff like that. So if that sounds like a cool idea, let me know. You know, it actually wouldn't be too hard to set up. But anyway, thanks so much for stopping in and watching the video today. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.